Without love, pain, I can't get enough pain. I like it rough, cause I'd rather feel pain than nothing at all.
Hi Lynn, I wanted to do this video as a response video to the lecture, which I've watched, and I've watched a bunch of other things on the channel that have to do with fibromyalgia from different conventions, and your lecture as well as another lecture, a personal story, and there was something that you said about to tell our story, and I identified with that greatly. I was diagnosed very recently, about 5 months, and I've been probably suffering from fibro and chronic fatigue syndrome for almost 2 years now. So I've been pretty lucky. I didn't have to wait too long before I was diagnosed. And when I was first diagnosed, I felt ashamed, and I know that was a very odd thing for me to feel, because I don't feel ashamed about who I am. I have a chronic illness prior to having this. I have juvenile diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and I've always been very outspoken about it. I've always been outspoken about even having an eating disorder, which that is something that you would assume that someone has a lot of shame and problems dealing with. And I found it was the fibromyalgia. I just didn't know how to deal with it. Nobody was talking about it. 5% of the population, between 3 to 5% of the population suffer from it. Nobody's talking about this. I was somewhat familiar because I had a friend who had it, but that's also because she spoke about it and I was a very curious individual. And yet, something inside me just didn't want to talk about it. And I'm a very outspoken person in general. I'm very outgoing. I have blogs and I talk and I'm very communicative and I tell my story to strangers basically. I've always been like that. And it took me a long while. And I think one of the things that it didn't take me that long, but one of the things that convinced me to tell my story was your lecture. And I thank you for that, because I decided to start uploading. First of all, I'm talking about it, I'm outspoken about it in my surroundings. I am dealing with it, and I find that making these, I've opened a YouTube channel. I decided to do it in Hebrew and English, because I don't live in the States, I live in Israel, and here are people, they don't necessarily know English, unfortunately. So I wanted to make, first of all, videos that would address people in my closest surroundings, but I also decided to do mine in English. And I say this because I'm fairly new. I find that my process, the videos that I make, are things that people who've been recently diagnosed go through. And dealing with the feelings and the different situations and all the different things that you can, in the beginning are really big, but after having it for a few years, it's no longer big. I hope to do many great things in my life, and I hope that this will not hold me back. I have a bachelor's degree in communication and journalism, and I'm currently getting my bachelor's degree in law. And I've always been very into doing public PR. I call it publications. I call it governmental PR, I guess you would say. That means I don't want to work for cosmetic companies or something like that. I want to work for somebody with a cause, and I found that that's one of my strengths in life, and I hope that even if I don't work, I hope that I can still contribute for the awareness and the talk about fibromyalgia. So I thank you, and I encourage, if you see this, I encourage you to tell your story to people, at least in your closest surroundings, because if you keep it a secret, then nobody will know about it, and nobody will know that you have to deal with it. Even if you're an optimist, I think I am one, and you try not to let on your feelings to other people. You can write a blog. You can do it anonymously as well. You can make videos. You can keep a very optimistic point of view to everybody around you, but share the deeper thoughts, the process that you're going through, the treatments that you're going to hope, and the not so good parts. One of the things that I'm doing on my vlogs, and it's very difficult, is I'm trying to capture real moments. I have a moment that I'm having a stomach attack, yeah, that's what I call it, irritable bowel syndrome, and a lighter migraine, because when I have a really hard migraine, I can't even think about turning on the camera. I can't even think about anything. But I try to give a little glimpse of you know, what it means to have fibromyalgia, what it means to suffer from these things. So I encourage you to tell your story. Even write your story once. If you're a mother and you have children, write down your story, because you never know where you're going to be in 10 years. You never know where you're going to be tomorrow. And your story is still a story worth telling. And I'm into scrapbooking, so I get a lot of that from there. But your story, even the fibromyalgia story, is a meaningful story to tell. So I wanted to thank Lynn for bringing me to this place. I think it's made it easier for me to deal as much as it could ever be easy to deal with it. And thank you.